Hello everyone, this is Dr. Achal and welcome you all in our course module titled as Services Marketing. Now, in our previous discussion we have dealt with the concept of the product life cycle, that is product life cycle especially in case of the services, because we are concerned more with the services aspect. So, how the marketers and the producers, they are launching out their offerings which are abstract in nature, and when the offering is being launched for the very first time, they are being talked of to occupy the stage of the initial stage, that is being said as an introduction stage. So, in previous discussion we have dealt with that the characteristics, the strategies which the producers are trying to go in for use when the product is being launched, and they are being coming to define the stage of the introduction. Now, in our present session we will be dealing and we will be elaborating in the earlier stage, in the next stage when the product moves in for the next stage, and that particular phase is being said to be the growth phase. So, in our present discussion we will be dealing with the growth stage when the offering is gradually with the passage of time they are growing and they have come to define and they are categorized that stage as a growth stage. So, moving to on the slide, this slide says that the growth stage of the services life cycle, when the industry experiences the rapid expansion and most of the companies they are offering the new services, they enjoy a positive cash flow. For instance, the patients can access the information about the incubation period for chickenpox by consulting a nurse or listening to a library of pre-recorded messages. Additionally, they can obtain advice on common health issues like congestion or abdominal pain. Now, this is in a stage wherein we are seeing that the industry are experiencing out a rapid expansion, and most of the companies they are offering new services for the purpose of enjoying out a positive cash flow. The example here it is being quoted as the patients can access the information about the incubation period for the chickenpox by consulting a nurse or listening to a library of pre-recorded message. Additionally, they can obtain the advice on the common health issues like congestion or the abdominal pain. Now, in the growth stage, we are seeing when the services are evolving, they are growing after the initial phase of the introduction, when the offerings, when the services are getting to occupy the second stage, which is in the form of the growth stage, we are experiencing that the target audience, they are already they have got the information about new offerings, they are well aware, they are trying to make use of the product, the services or the offerings that you are trying to propose of in the market area. And here in the growth phase we can experience that the sales volume may rise, there will be a rapid expansion of the growth of the services or the offerings that you are trying to propose of in the market area, and the market expansion can also be seen. So, the positive cash flow may be witnessed in the growth phase, because in the introductory phase we have said that we can experience a negative return, there can be a no return, or whether that return can also go in for the negative one. But in the growth phase, as in a firm, as in a service provider, we can say that our services they are evolving, they are outgrowing, and the rapid sales turnover can be seen. The sales may increase at an increasing phase, and the customers they are well aware, they will be trying to purchase and consume out your services, then only the sales turnover will be showing out in a increased graphical trend, that will be showing out in a upward trend in the growth phase. So, here as it has been said in the slide that if you are talking of in the sense of the information that the patients are, if someone is suffering, like we can say that if someone is suffering from any kind of disease like a dengue or a chickenpox, then for the purpose of identifying, for the purpose of diagnosing that either I am being diagnosed or either I am really a culprit, either I am really a person who has being diagnosed with a dengue, then there is a certain kind of incubation period that has to be seen by the patient, and that incubation period will be understood in the sense of the growth phase. When the mosquito has bitten you and after its biting, after 5 days, after 3 or 4 days, after that particular incubation, that will be talked of as an incubation period, because after the mosquito has bitten you and after 3 or 4 days, then after that 3 or 4 days will be classified as an incubation period, and then only you will be able to trace it out whether you are a real patient who has suffered or who will be suffering out within a dengue case. So, this is in a case wherein we can say that the growth of this particular kind of example may be quoted, wherein we are saying that the services may be evolving in terms of the growth phase, or whether we as a patient, we are just trying to define out, or we are trying to extract out the information in terms of whether we are experiencing or whether we are being diagnosed out with a dengue in a positive sense. So, after that particular kind of transformation period, after that particular kind of evolution period, that evolution period or the incubation period will be sensed as a growth phase in case of diagnosing ourselves as a dengue patient. So, the growth stage of the service life cycle. Now, moving on to the next slide, this slide says that what are the important characteristics, the objectives and the strategies that has to be pursued by the service provider that can be seen. Now, where we are experiencing that the characteristics are definitely they are being defined in terms of the sales objective, in terms of the cost factor, may also be discussed with regard to the profit element, the objectives of the marketer, and in addition to these kind of factors, the 7 P's has also to be understood by the service provider. So, moving on with the sales, that is the first point being taken care of by the marketers, by the producers. Here in the growth phase, we are experiencing that there is a rapid sales in the sales volume. We have already said the fact that the sales volume or the sales turnover in case of the growth phase, it will be increasing at an increasing phase. So, as in a producer, as in a service provider, the sales volume will be showing out an upward trend at an increasing phase. Now, why this increase is being witnessed? This increase is being witnessed because we have said in the initial phase, in the introduction phase, the producer have already made out the customers aware by incurring the different kind of promotional appeals, and which is getting the shape of the print media, which is trying to take the help of the broadcast media, or whether we can go in for the sales promotion effort, but the sales promotion effort is not primarily being used because they are having a certain kind of time foundation, and when the product is being launched for the very first time, we are not very much being we are not very much being reliable enough to use out the technique of the sales promotion, because it is a short term inducement. So, moreover, it is very much being feasible enough for the provider to go in for the digital contents. We can make use of the digital mode for the purpose of making out or for the purpose of mobilizing and creating the awareness amongst the customers that we are coming out with a new kind of variant for you. So, in the introduction phase, we have discussed and we have incurred all these expenditures in the form of the promotional appeals. So, definitely the customers are aware, they are being persuaded, they are being convinced, and definitely after the convincing, after the persuasion and the motivation element that is being given to them, they will be purchasing, they will be consuming out your offerings, and because of this reason, in the growth phase, we are experiencing that the sales volume will be rising at an increasing phase. So, the rapid sales volume we will see, and moving on with regard to the cost, as we have said that in the initial phase, the producer has to bear out the fixed cost, because that fixed cost has to be borne irrespective of the level of the production. They have to bear, they have to just give out the salaries and the wages to the workers, they have to bear the cost in the form of the rent, the depreciation has to be incurred, insurance cost has to be given to the insurance corporation by paying out the premiums, brokerage fees has to be given to the brokers, underwriters commission has to be given. So, here the fixed cost in the initial phase we have to bear. Apart from the fixed costs, there are certain kind of costs which are being defined in terms of the variable cost, and in between the fixed cost and the variable cost, certain kind of semi variable cost has also to be incurred upon. Now, in the growth phase, we are seeing that the cost element, if we try to deduce, if we try to bifurcate the cost that has to be borne by the individual customers over whom we are targeting out our effort, then definitely you can say that the cost here will be the average cost per customer. As we have discussed that in the introduction phase, the cost that has to be borne by the customer will be high in nature, it will be substantial in nature, because in the introduction phase we are bearing out the fixed cost, we are bearing out the variable cost, and in between the fixed and the variable cost we are also incurring certain kind of semi variable cost. So, in the second phase, that is the growth phase, we as a producer, as a marketer, we can say that the cost, if we are just trying to bifurcate its bearance on the individual customers, we can say that the average, it will be its efficacy, its magnitude that will be borne by the individual customers per customer, it will be of average size. It will not be very much being substantial enough as has been seen in the very first initial phase of the introduction. Now, the profit element, we know that the profit element, all our efforts which the organization are doing by creating, by mobilizing out the resources, by formulating out the new ideas, by defining out your expectations, by giving out a new proposition in terms of the new services development. So, the profit element in the case of the growth phase, it will be rising profits, we will be experiencing, we will be witnessing a rising trend of the profit. Now, why this rising trend will be seen? Because we have incurred a huge promotional appeal, we have inducted an aggressive promotional appeal in any of the firm, depending upon the nature of our commodity, depending upon the nature of our offering, the accessibility of the target audience, our organizational resources and the objectives that we want to fulfill upon. So, here the profit element will be showing out an upward tendency, because the sales volume is also increasing. So, definitely it will have a consonant, it will have a repercussions on the profit element, and the profit element will also be showing out an upward tendency in the growth phase. Now, what to talk about the objectives, that is especially the marketing objectives. We know that every business organization, every provider, every service provider, every marketer, they have their objectives. Either they can have an objectives to reap out the internal economies of scale, to expand out their production database, to increase the customer footfalls, to maximize out the surplus, to gain out the profitable gains, to reap out the profitable gains, any kind of objective, or to be acting as a dominant leader, any kind of objective may be pursued by a marketer. So, here the marketing objectives, depending upon the objectives that you have channelized, that you have established, that you have created within the parameters of the vision and the mission, because every functional area, every functional department have their own objectives. So, especially we are limiting our discussion towards the marketing field, towards the marketing arena. So, the marketing manager, they have their objectives in the growth phase, and that growth, in the growth phase we can have an objective to maximize, to substantiate the market share which the customers are trying to give in the market area. So, this is the marketing objectives. The marketing managers will be trying to substantiate, they will trying to expand out the market share that they are trying to propose out towards their target audience, and that will be expanded because we did our effort in a very best way in the introduction phase. So, definitely the market expansion can be seen. Now, characteristics in terms of the product, what we can experience, that we know that in case of the services, the core product are basically the abstractness, the core product are being defined in terms of the abstract element, but that abstractness, that intangibility aspect is being substantiated with the help of some tangibility clues. So, the product is basically, if we are talking of regarding the characteristics of the product in the growth phase, we can say that they are offering the product extension, more services and warranties can be given. In terms of the characteristics, the product can be, it will not be modified, but definitely it can be improvised, wherein we can say that the abstractness is more being pronounced with the help of some its service extensions. The product extensions can be given in this growth phase. Certain kind of warranties, certain kind of support services and facilitating services may also be given, may also be associated with that core offering, so that the greater utility and the greater kind of satisfaction may be given by you to your target audience. So, in the growth phase, we can go in for adoption of these kind of strategies, these kind of marketing strategies in terms of the product, so that that can be more being fruitful enough, that can be made more being feasible enough for the customers, for the target audience, and they can be having out a greater delightment to use the core offerings which are abstract in nature. Now, the next element is being associated within a price factor. We know that the price is one of the element which is a very sensitive element, and they are being occupied by the business organization to generate out the revenue, and rest of the other elements, that is the product, place and promotion, the process, the people and the physical evidence, they are incurring the cost. So, the prices, how to define out the prices, how to define out or establish out and to offer out a suitable pricing strategy for the customers, for the target audience regarding the disposition of your offering. They can be any kind of a strategy. As we have said that in the reduction phase, we can go in for the cost plus, we can go in for the demand based approach, we can go in for the dynamic pricing strategy which the airlines industries are trying to use. So, in the reduction phase, either the marketer may use to modify out the prices of their offerings by lowering down the prices of their core offerings, and that is what is being talked of as a strategy of the market penetration. So, market penetration pricing strategy is preferably they are being used when the product is very much newly being established, they are newly being created and they are being offered in the market area. So, here the marketers may also go in for the in the growth phase, they may also go in for the lowering down the prices of the product. The customers footfall may increase, and the market expansion can be seen, more market expansion can be seen, and those customers, those individuals who are not being able enough to buy out your product, to consume out your product in the earlier discourse, they will also be motivated enough to consume your product. So, this is a strategy wherein intentionally you are trying to lower down the prices of the product for the purpose of creating or expanding out a greater target audience, for the purpose of just making the customers more being accessible enough to use your offerings, to use out your services on an easy basis. Now, the next element, it's being related in a distribution factor, and distribution is all being talked of in the sense of the creation of the pace utility. How you are trying to dispose of your offerings to the end customers, how much accessible, how much proximate you are trying to give out the use of your offerings to your target audience. You may go in for the building of the intensive distribution, because in the growth phase, we are experiencing that the sales volume are increasing, we are experiencing that the profit element is also showing at an upward trends at an increasing level. So, if the sales volume are increasing, if the profit and the surplus that you are generating, that is showing at an upward tendency at a higher pace, at a rapid pace, then definitely it means that you as a provider of the services, you as a service marketer, you have to make the proposition, the creation and the proposition of their services in each and every outlet intensively. You have to make it available intensively at each and every outlet. You may go in for giving out the exclusive right in the form of the patents, you may go in for giving out the exclusive right in the form of the franchisee, so that your services are more being pronounced, it is more being reflected, its dimensionality is more being pronounced, expanded within the reach of the customers are having a more proximity, they are more being accessible towards the consumption and the use of your services. So, intensive distribution strategy may be used. Now, what to talk about the peel, that is the promotion peel. In case of the growth phase, the advertisement may be incurred to build the awareness. Awareness is also definitely it is being built in the first phase of the introduction phase, in the laboratory phase. So, here the building up the awareness and interest in the mass market. Promotional technique, promotional expenditure may be incurred in the growth phase also, because here the customers, your target audience, they are already knowing out the fact of the creation and the proposition of the new services. But what to talk about the prospects? How to mobilize out the prospects? How to persuade them to go in for the uses of your product? This is what is being talked of in the sense of making a greater appeal. This is what is being talked of in the sense of using more promotional appeal for the purpose of changing the mindsets of the prospects to go in for the purchase of your products, to convert the purchase decision process of the prospects in terms of making a favorable disposition, creating or building up a positive mindset or creating a positive perception for the prospects to move in for the purchase decision and the consumption of your offerings. So, here the advertisement definitely it will be created, it will be incurred, it will be it will be borne by the producers, by the service providers to build up an awareness and the interest for the prospects also, and for, not for the target audience, because already in the introduction stage it is being done. So, in this growth stage we will be incurring out the promotional appeal for the purpose of converting out the prospects to go in for the purchase and the consumption of your product, and to saturate out the market area and to just increase out the customer footfalls. Now, this is in a 4P. Similarly, in terms of the people, process and physical evidence in the growth phase also, the people have to be mobilized, the people who are working in the establishment and the organization, they have to be mobilized, they have to be motivated to effectively demonstrate, to effectively persuade to the end customers regarding their proposition, regarding the nature. Firstly, they should be able to understand the nature and the characteristics of the core offerings that they are trying to deal upon. Their process should be made more being simpler enough. The demonstration should be done in a more simple way. There should not be any kind of sophistication to talk of. There should not be any kind of complexity to talk of. The process should be simple enough. The people who are in direct touch with the end users, they should be given a more motivation. Their mindset should be more being in a positive bent of mind. Because we know that there are certain kind of people who are holding out a technical expertise. So, those technical people should be frequently being trained enough. They are people, they are manpower who are having got a skilled kind of expertise. There are certain kind of manpower who are having a nature of unskilled job, who are doing an unskilled job in your organization, in your establishment. So, as a manager, you have to just foresee, you have to just make sure that the people who are working in establishments, they should be given a proper orientation, certain kind of frequent programs should be given out to them, so that their own psychographic features, their own psychological motivations, temperaments, learning and attitudes can be defined in a positive way. Then only they will be working wholeheartedly and they will be giving out their positive vibrations to their end consumers, to their end customers, because they are in the front line staff and they are in direct touch with the customers. So, here also the people, the process and the physical evidence is playing a very important role in the growth phase of the product life cycle, because we are talking and our discussion, we are doing our discussion in terms of the services aspect. So, apart from the 4P, that is product, price, place and promotion, the people, process and the physical evidence, they are also playing a very important role, and they are the crux of the 7P of the 7P of the service marketing decisional area. So, they have to be oriented, they have to be trained, they have to be monitored, they have to be evaluated, then only they will be giving out their best. So, people, process and physical evidence, it's a very important crux of the 7Ps of the service marketing decisional area. And in case of the growth stage of the services, the service provider has to ensure that it is not only the frontline staff, the people who are working at the back end stage, they should also be given out certain kind of motivations. Their persuasion level should be at a higher level, because then only they will be optimizing out their resources, they will be optimizing out their energies in a best possible way, and your growth, your productivity, the organizational growth and the productivity will definitely, it will be having a profound influence when the employees who are working at the back end stage, or the employees who are in direct touch with the customers, occupying the role of the frontline staff, they are properly being motivated enough in terms of the monetary pay and packages. In addition to the monetary pay and packages, they are sufficiently being renovated enough, they are sufficiently being improvised enough, they are sufficiently adequately being motivated enough in terms of the deliverance of the non-monetary packages, non-monetary perks, non-monetary benefits. Then only they will be coming out with enough flying colors, and their efforts will be channelized in terms of the expansion of the sales volume, in terms of the customer's delightment, and that delightment will be leading towards building out a good credibility and a good goodwill of your organization in the market area. And in due course of time, that will be creating a competitive advantage when we are relating our value creation and the proposition with in terms of the rivals, because we will be just coming out to create and deliver out those kind of services which are having out a feature of unique selling proposition. So, this is all about the characteristics, the objectives that the marketers are trying to fulfill upon in the second phase, when the services are moving in for the second phase of the growth. What are the important characteristics that can be seen in terms of the cost factor, in terms of the profit factor, apart from the 7 P's that we have discussed in today's discussion, and how the marketers and the producers are defining and crafting out their strategies in order to fulfill out the proper blend of the 7 P's that we have learned in our discussion in today's lecture. Hope you have understood the concept of the growth phase when the services have introduced or they have evolved, they have transformed in the growth phase. So, in our this discussion we have dealt with the important characteristics and the features of the growth phase. Till then we will be meeting in the next session, and the next session will be dealing with the next phase of the services product life cycle, and that is all being related with the maturity phase. So, till then stay safe and stay blessed. Hope you have understood the lecture. Thank you all for joining.